but they worked throughout the night, and sadly they did not find anybody alive, and nor have they recovered additional bodies.
Miami-Dade County Mayor speaking just moments ago on the condo collapse in Surfside, Florida.
Rescuers are desperately searching for survivors or any signs of life underneath the rubble as 159 people remain missing and 4 are confirmed dead.
The cause of the collapse still unclear. Federal scientists have been called to examine the site. Meanwhile, the first lawsuit over the collapse has reportedly been filed. It seems it seeks more than $5 million for damages for victims. Let's bring in Florida Congressman Carlos Giménez, former Miami fire chief and former mayor of Miami-Dade County. Congressman, tough time right now for that community. Talk to us about the latest of what we know.
Well, there was a report that I just read that indicated that there was an engineering report that said that there was a design issue and a waterproofing issue on the pool deck above the garage that was deteriorating the concrete and also the foundation walls. I think that's something that needs to be looked at initially to see if that was the cause. Obviously, we have urban search and rescue teams there around the clock looking for any signs of any survivors. Unfortunately, the more time that drags on, the less likely that that's going to be the case. And so the fact that you have 159 people that are unaccounted for is really troubling for us. But the whole community has been rallying around the rescue workers, like Miami-Dade always does when tragedy or some kind of like a hurricane hits. We're always rallying around each other. It's a great community.
Congressman, it's so shocking to see those images because, you know, we think of the third world. It almost looks like a war zone. But these weren't cheap condos. I mean, they were going for $600,000, some of them $2 million a unit. Should people who have condos along that stretch be concerned as well? Or do you think this is something just specific to that particular building?
Well, look, we've had condos in Miami and Miami-Dade for a long, long time. This is the first one that I recall has ever happened to. So no, I wouldn't be overly concerned. But from this will come new inspections and new requirements to make sure that it never happens again. Unfortunately, one of the things that happens, fortunately, actually, one of the things that happens with tragedy is that we learn, and that we learn how to avoid future tragedies. And so that's what I would expect from this. Why was this allowed to happen? Exactly what happened and why was it allowed to happen? What we can do to prevent it in the future. But I would not be overly concerned if I was on a condo on Miami Beach right now.
Well, in more positive news, Royal Caribbean is set to launch the first passenger cruise from the U.S. since the pandemic no-sail orders. So what will that mean for businesses there in Florida? I imagine this is a welcome relief.
Yeah, look, Miami, the Port of Miami, which Miami-Dade County operates, is the cruise capital of the world. That business has been shut down for over a year, and I think unnecessarily so. I think the CDC has really kind of picked on the cruise industry and treated them in a not a consistent fashion. And so I'm glad that they're starting. I think we need to do more. We need to push the CDC to allow cruises to happen. We have over 50% of people in the United States have been vaccinated, and we need to get back to business. And so, you know, I'm glad that we have something, you know, a trial run right now, but we need to get this back up and running. It is a huge industry in Miami-Dade County. It's huge in Broward. Again, all the state of Florida. I think we have something like 50% of the cruise industry around the world happens from the state of Florida. So it's a big deal to get them back up and running. It's not just the people that are working on the cruise lines. It's all the people that supply the cruise lines. And those people are working in our county. And so it's really important for our economy to get it back up and running.
Congressman, you mentioned vaccinations. Well, Joe Biden had something to say about that in the Latino community on Thursday. We want to get your reaction. Listen.
It's awful hard as well to get Latinx vaccinated as well. Why? They're worried that they'll be vaccinated and deported. The more we close the racial gap in vaccination rates, the more lives we can save.
Congressman, is that the issue?
No, I don't think so. Look, in Miami-Dade County, we don't ask your immigrant status. I mean, you can get vaccinated. We want everybody to be vaccinated, and that's not going to be the issue. So, There are people that unfortunately do not want to get vaccinated, either because they're fearful or they just don't want to be vaccinated. And so we need to push the vaccinations as much as possible. We need to get as many Americans vaccinated as possible. Once we can do that, then we'll go back to the old normal, which is really what we all want, the old normal. But by the same token, once everybody has had the opportunity to be vaccinated, we need to get back to the old normal anyway, because it's their right not to be vaccinated. And it's also our right, the people that have been vaccinated, to go back to living our life in as normal fashion as, pre-COVID-19 fashion as possible. And we need to do that as quickly as possible.
I couldn't agree more, Congressman. Can I ask you, as a fellow Hispanic American, what your thoughts are on the fact that I found it really demeaning, frankly, that comment there that, all Hispanics are afraid of being deported. I also don't like the term Latinx. I don't even know what the heck it means, to be quite honest. What are your thoughts on that?
I didn't even know what that meant either. So I don't know. I really don't know. Look, I'm Hispanic. I'm a legal immigrant. I'm a citizen of the United States. I'm a U.S. congressman. And so, we are just like everybody else. We came here looking for a better life. My father, my mother brought me here looking for a better life, escaping socialism and communism in Cuba. And we're really proud to be Americans. And so that somehow we're different than anybody else and that we're afraid we're going to be deported. No, that's not the case. And so, I think the president really is out of touch with what's really happening on the ground. And so, again, I urge everybody to be vaccinated. But again, it's our our American rights to do as we want. Right. I don't know of anybody that can't get vaccinated. And so once that happens, then we should just open up and go back to business.
Congressman Carlos Giménez, we appreciate you getting up with us this morning and sharing your perspective.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman.